Allison here, the Bored Housewife. Thank you so much for joining me for another week's episode. If you have been enjoying these episodes, please comment, subscribe, let me know what you guys are thinking and feeling. It's been really fun doing more of the housewife focused conversations this month. If you have someone in mind that you think would really enjoy what we talk about here, I really encourage you to share it with them. I would love to continue to build our housewife, stay-at-home mom, homemaker, house husband, stay-at-home dad. I know there's a few of you out there as well, so I would really just love to build our community. So, and you can also check out my social media and website and other fun things in the link in the description of the podcast. So, this week, the episode is called Where's the Line? And I wanted to talk about this because being a housewife and working in your home, so much of your job is, the house duties. And I think sometimes it gets a little muddled of when you're in a partnership, especially, well, obviously all of us here are, but like we're in a partnership, right? So when does your job and in partnership start? So I wrote here, where's the line, meaning where does your job end and your partnership begin? Does your husband get a total pass? You just take care of absolutely everything home related? Or, when they get off work, do they have other responsibilities? So we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit today. So yeah, let's get to it. I am drinking a cocktail. I never pronounce it right. I think it's called a Belvedere or Boulevardier or Belvedere or something. I don't know. It's like a Negroni but with whiskey or with bourbon instead of gin. So anyways, whatever time of day it is for you, grab your beverage of choice. And cheers, guys. Let's have some fun. So last week, talking about the feelings of inadequacy and where all of that sort of comes from, I thought this would be a little bit of a lighter topic, but one that kind of easily, goes into it because we do, at least for me personally, I have established very much what I do at home, and so even sometimes those feelings of inadequacy when I'm not keeping up on all the chores or keeping up on certain things, like those things creep in again. But I also find myself, kind of wondering what am I fully responsible for? When are there times that maybe I need to request my husband do something, and what sort of things is he doing that I'm not doing that's like with the house? Because for me personally, and I feel like he feels the same way too, he would certainly let me do everything if I wanted to. But, I think that there are some things that he needs to be in responsible for, especially when he's here. When he's not here, obviously, that all of it falls on me. But I think that for my sanity and just for how our house works, I can't just constantly be cleaning up after everything, because that's just not who I am. But the bottom line is, whatever you figure out for your marriage, whatever works for you, communication is key, right? So I recently saw this video this woman posted, and she was a stay-at-home mom. And I found it really interesting, and I'm not judging her take on it. I'm judging more so her delivery because, again, I've putting this out there early, and you're going to hear me say it a lot throughout this episode. whatever works in your household is what works for you. So if there's something that is bothering you or upsets you or just isn't like vibing very well, then you need to have a conversation with your spouse about that and figure out, like, you know, is there a compromise? Is there anything that your spouse can do? If this does completely fall on you, like, how can we feel better about doing it? Or at least realizing that you've exhausted all the avenues and, like, accept that this is just your responsibility, right? So, this woman in the video, it was really cute how she did it. She had like a little Lego house with Lego people. And basically she was painting a picture of she stays home and takes care of the kid all day long. Her husband gets to get in a car and have his alone time to work, and then at work he has adult time. He has adult conversation with people. He gets an hour lunch, and then he gets his alone time back in the car on the way home. And then, he would take on responsibilities of like doing yard work and things that weren't necessarily directly related to like the kid or her responsibilities that she does all day long. And I feel for her because I totally get that, right? Like, he got to get off his job, and then we're all adults. We all have responsibilities. There's an endless, especially when you're a homeowner, there's an endless amount of things to be done, right? So he's choosing, again, to do stuff that's outside and, maybe not the most fun. Like, I certainly don't like doing yard work, but some people do enjoy doing that sort of stuff. And it gives him still more time to himself where he's not dealing with, like, a kid having a temper tantrum or, being crazy or anything like that. And also just like being in the house. And she was kind of saying like, no, I get to go outside and do the yard work. You can sit inside and watch our kid. And like I said, her approach was really kind of like aggressive towards the scenario. And it also felt like she was saying this in a way that was like just because you work, like, you don't get to just come home and do the yard work. Like, that's a cop-out, basically. And in my mind, I'm like, well, I think anytime someone takes it upon themselves to contribute to the house in however way that is, I think that's, like, a really nice thing to do. If, like, you're in that scenario where it's like you're home with the kid all day and doing all of that while trying to also maintain your home and everything, I totally understand wanting a break from that. But that's when you need to explain to your spouse what it is that you need, right? And also for some of us, maybe you don't need that. Maybe you are home with the kid all day, and when your husband comes home, you're totally fine continuing taking care of the child while your husband does other things, So it's like everything is about perspective. And also, like, well, I'll get into this later in the episode. Well, I guess I can talk about it now, but like, just because, like, I remember going to work and driving there in traffic was not a peaceful thing for me. Sometimes the people that I worked with, it was stressful and it wasn't necessarily like the best time ever. Did I have downtime? Sure, but you always have this feeling of having to be on. At least I did at my job. And so it was like even my downtime wasn't like really necessarily downtime. So I think, again, like when we stay home, and I don't have kids, so my scenario is very different, right? Like, I'm sure some of you that have kids are like, yeah, okay, whatever. I take going back to work in a heartbeat. And maybe that's the case. And there are a lot of aspects that I miss of working as well. But there's a lot of stuff that I don't miss working. And it's not, it's always the grass is always greener, right? And so I feel really privileged that I get to stay home. And I think for those of us that do get to stay home and don't have to work a job, there is a lot of privilege in that and a lot of, different things. And so if you're somebody that's, feeling like your husband needs to be inside with the kid while you go out and mow the lawn. Like, some people would actually be really offended by that. Like, I stayed home with the kid all day. You get off work and you get to sit on the couch, and now I get to go mow the lawn. Like, it's all just perspective, and it's all about what you and your spouse talk to like each other about and what works for you guys in your marriage. When you're deciding this, and I hope that you guys have had these conversations before you decided to stay home, but also stuff is constantly coming up, right? Things are overlooked and new things come up, life change happens, so different things kind of come about. But you need to understand what his expectations are for you staying home, what your expectations are, and then where is your middle ground? Because sometimes his expectations and your expectations are going to counter each other. I personally, I do enjoy cooking now, but especially when we were first married, my husband said if I wasn't working, then he expected me to make dinner every night. And it doesn't have to be on the table by any certain time, but either make or figure out dinner during the weekdays. And I did not care for that the first time I heard it. I was like, really? But then, I started thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, I guess if I'm not working, then why, why wouldn't I make dinner? If he's at work all day, and then, I remember the last thing I want to do is come home and have to try to figure out what to eat, right? So that was something that wasn't initially I was on board about. But, he put it in perspective. If I was working and he wasn't, he would figure out dinner for the night. And if we both were working, then we would take turns. So when he put it that way, I was like, okay, well then I can get on board with that, because that does make sense. And that is a nice thing to be able to come home from a day of working and not have to worry about that, right? So that's one of those things, sometimes your expectations just aren't going to be exactly in line, but where's the middle ground at? And where, is there ways to kind of work on some stuff? Or, sometimes it is just about accepting that this is the way it's going to be. But at least having the understanding of someone's expectations and where their feelings are coming from for why they have those things can help us sort of accept things a little better. So I just wanted to kind of go through some of my personal examples of things that I do, and then things that I just won't do, things that I put my foot down, because as helpful as I do want to be, there are certain things where it's just I don't want to be responsible for it, or I'm doing all of this other stuff. And like I said earlier, I do feel like my husband needs responsibilities as well. I don't think for our household that it's fully fair that everything falls on my shoulders. I think that it's okay for him to have a few things. So for the most part, I keep track of our spending and bills. I cook most nights and I figure out dinner. But this is where, I do that during the weekday. But, on the weekends when we want to eat out, or if there's a night that we do want to eat out, I typically have him figure it out. I might give him an idea of, what type of food I want, or if I do have something specific in mind that I've been wanting to go to, I'll mention it. But, I get exhausted thinking of dinner and what we're going to have and different recipes, and then also trying to figure out where we're going to go eat all the time. And so he had brought up to me well, I always feel like I'm the one who is looking at places to eat. And I, told him, I'm like, well, I think that's okay, because I'm figuring out dinner majority of the time. So I think that you could look up a few restaurants pretty easily. And he thought about that, and he thought that was fair. So that's what we do. I clean, I do the laundry. but I will not do his military uniforms. This was something that I realized very early on. His uniforms are very particular, um, and he's been doing it since he was in boot camp. So, in my mind, I'm just like, you've been doing this majority of your career without me. You know how to do this, and God forbid I fuck it up, right? Um, that would be the end of it. And these uniforms are expensive. So I just was like, I will go and pick them up from the dry cleaners for you if for whatever reason you can't do that. But I don't even like dropping it off at the dry cleaners, because if they ask me a certain question about something, I don't want to give them the wrong information. So, um, most of the time I'm just like, when it comes to your uniforms, like, that's all on you. He has a few stuff that can go in the washing machine, and I'll throw it in the dryer or something. But again, I just really don't like touching any of it, because I don't want to be responsible for fucking it up. And he's been doing it for so long without me. I'm like, okay, I think you got this one. I clean the bathrooms. I really tried to get to clean the bathrooms, but he's helped me out a few times here and there, especially like when we've had company coming, and I'm like a mess running around trying to get everything organized. He will step in and like help me out there, but yeah, I end up doing the bathrooms most of the time. I do like the grocery shopping, and like our uh, laundry detergent, like shower gel, like all that little stuff that you buy. I do all that shopping. Sometimes we will do it together, but I do like his company when we go shopping, but it takes me a lot longer, because it's like he gets distracted by something and he's like throwing shit in the cart that's not on the list. And so, as much as I enjoy his company, it's actually just easier for me to go by myself. And then sometimes I will have him, like, if it's in a pinch of some, like, a scenario of like, I totally forgot something, or, there's just one ingredient that I need and I wasn't able to go to the store, or something like really random like that. He will stop at the grocery store to pick stuff up for me, but I don't ask him to do that very often. And again, it's usually a little bit more work than it's worth, just me going and doing it, because he doesn't go there very often. So he doesn't have the lay of the land like I do. But I do make him tell me if there's something that he needs. So, like, I won't keep track of his shower gel, or like shaving cream, or like whatever toiletries and things that he uses, um, outside of what I use, then I rely on him to tell me. So I know some people, you'll check where your husband's at with like their shampoo or stuff like that. Again, I'm like, you lived for so long on your own, like, when that stuff is getting low, and you need to tell me. I'm not going to check on that stuff. Like, I can barely make sure I get it for myself. So when you're running low, tell me and I'll make sure I get it. But okay, thanks, Minnie. Okay. And so I ask him to handle the garbage and the yard work if we have any. So far, since we've been married, we really haven't had much yard work stuff that he's had to deal with. But the garbage, when he's here, I do prefer he do that. It's just something that I don't care to do. And yeah, it's something super easy that he can do when he's leaving for work, and can get the bin back up towards the house when he comes home. Like, it's not that hard. But it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't need to do everything. You can have a few responsibilities. And then, like, we haven't had a bunch of, like, major car issues. When we lived in the States, he took care of everything with his car. But now living here in Okinawa, I'm not sure how that is going to get handled the same way. So when it comes to oil changes and stuff like that, that might be something that I end up doing. Personally, do I want to go get his oil changes for his car? No, that's something that if he brought it up, I would probably end up doing because I understand that he's at work and I have the time during the day to do it. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that I do during the day. And so, it's not like it's just easy for me to go get those done. And nobody likes doing those. Like, nobody enjoys going to the garage to get your oil changed. So we'll see where that comes from, or we'll see what happens when that comes up. But yeah, that's one of those where it's definitely probably going to be a middle ground scenario. And I'm probably just going to end up accepting that it's going to become my responsibility because it's easier for me to make the time in my schedule to go do it than it is for him to try to get out of work. On the other note, sometimes that stuff is kind of nice as an excuse to go and get it done and get a few hours off of work. But I'm not sure if that'll work for him, this like where we're at or not. And I'd much rather, personally go do it during the day on a weekday and then have a Saturday, Sunday where we can go have fun. So I'll probably end up doing it. But yeah, and then, like when we have maintenance calls to the house and stuff, again, like stuff like that, I would really prefer him to be here for. I just, these people talk to you and they tell you what's going on, and I just have a really basic understanding of things. And when I try to explain to him what the scenario is, he has all these different questions, and I don't have the answers, or I didn't think to ask those sorts of things. So whenever we have maintenance calls, it's just really like frustrating for me. And then they also just dig a huge hole out of my day. They're usually unexpected, and it's like those are things that I really wish that he could be here for more. But again, he's working, so it's like I'm the one staying home. Like it doesn't make sense for him to come home and sit here unless it's like a really big deal. These are just a few things that we personally deal with, and things that we've talked about, and things that, I deal with versus him, or vice versa, and whatever, all that stuff. Obviously, if you have kids, there's a lot more involved there because I think, especially as like a stay-at-home mom, your main priority is going to be the care for your child, right? And then everything else is going to come second. So there is probably going to be a lot more on your plate as far as like cleaning and housework and like financial things and, making plans and all of that sort of stuff, is probably going to need to be a little bit more evenly divided, because you're just not like with kids, you're just not able to get to everything. And of course, when they're little, it's a lot harder to get to all that stuff. As they get bigger and they go to school, then you have a bigger part of your day where you can like, you don't have them interrupting you and you can get stuff done. But again, that's stuff that you need to have conversations with your spouse about and figure out, just because you worked all day, you don't just get to come home and I just wait on you hand and foot. Or maybe you do that and you're totally fine with that. Like, thinking about the role that I've taken on here and the sort of stuff that I do for my husband, I probably do pamper him a little bit here and there, but I do remember what it's like working. And when I decided to, follow him and not get jobs and all of that, I, put it in perspective that if I was working and he was the one staying home, like how nice would it be to just be able to come home and everything be done and I don't have to worry about it and we can just spend time together. We can do neat things, or we can work on our own personal projects and stuff like that. Like, that just makes everything so much easier. So even though sometimes like I get fed up with the feeling of everything is like, it feels like everything like weighs on my shoulders, and he gets to go to work and be an adult and talk about adult things with people, and see different things or whatever. um like he still has a lot of stress and other things going on that are outside of our home. And so, yeah, I think it's nice that I can come, like he can come home and everything is for the most part handled. So that's kind of what I think about. But for everyone, it's going to be different. And again, if you have kids, that scenario is going to be so different because, I mean, I would say most of you probably feel that like, okay, like we decided to be parents together, so when you come home, like you get to be dad now. Like I had to be mom all day and I still have to be mom. You did get to have a break and go be, you know, dad who goes to work, and now you just get to be dad. You don't have to be dad at work. So it is a perspective thing, but again, it's just what you guys figure out. And if you're struggling right now because maybe your spouse comes home and you think they should be doing more, that's where you guys need to have those conversations and just be open minded to what they're going to say and what their feelings are going to be. Um, we can't control people, we can't control what they think or how they feel or anything like that. We don't know what they go through during the day. So we can have some sort of idea of what your husband's job is, but like you handling a job and your husband handling a job, you're two different people. So how you deal with your work and or how they deal with their work is going to be different, and it's not fair for us to judge like, and I'm getting at like if you're like, oh, you don't even work that hard, or oh, your job's easy, or oh, you love your job, or I don't know. I'm just like kind of putting out there where like some more negative feelings could come about. It's not fair for us to judge them because we don't know what they go through in a day. We just hear stories here and there, and they might appear tired or they might appear a little grumpy or whatever. But it's like if you have a lot done at home, and this sounds very old-fashioned of me, but you being the homemaker, you being the person at home, and if you take on the perspective of like, I'm going to try my best to make this like a very nice environment and have it very relaxing, then hopefully when your husband gets home or when your spouse gets home, they feel that, and it puts them in a good mood and makes them want to, you know, contribute in any sort of way. So it's just how we all think of it, and really just the key of all of it is communication. It's constantly talking and like working through things that are working and things that aren't, and just trying out different things and being open to changes that are going to happen, because you will. As your marriage progresses, you're going to have so many different things come about, and it's not always going to look exactly the same. So I'm going to wrap it up. I just wanted to throw this out here because I've seen some people post some things about just what sort of stuff that they do and how much they take care of their families, and just kind of wanted to give you something to think about if you're at home. And I think this is going to bleed into next week's episode really well. It's just important to be having conversations and, not allow certain things to kind of fester to a boiling point, because then that's when you really kind of lose your stance. You kind of lose the argument right away when you're coming at it from like a negative place, to get like from the beginning. So if you're feeling overwhelmed with everything that you have going on and you need your partner to step up, I think that's totally okay to ask for that. It might, be open-minded. It might not be exactly the way that you want. But, see what works for you guys, and hopefully your partner will be open-minded as well and receptive to understanding that, like, yes, even though that you stay home all day and you do all of this, when they come home, you guys are you're in a partnership now. You're no longer the stay-at-home wife, and he's no longer, the working guy. You're now husband and wife, and, there should be some level of equality there and what you guys are doing. So, anyways, I hope this like inspired you guys, for any of you that are kind of like maybe feeling a little stuck in this place or haven't really kind of been circling some of these thoughts, and just my personal examples. I shared those so that they seem very basic and arbitrary, but it's like that's the kind of stuff that we talked about, because it's like, okay, well, I'm not working. What do you expect? What do this and that, and just finding out things about him and what he does. There are things that I won't go there. Like, nope, that's all on you. So, and he's just like, okay. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Again, please subscribe, like, comment. Go check out my website, sign up for the monthly newsletter, check out the blog, invite some friends to check out the podcast. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and cheers. I'll see you soon. Bye.